Alright, so let's talk about fear. Not the jump scare, haunted house kind of fear, although that has its place, especially when you're the one doing the scaring. No, I'm talking about the deep-seated what-if 3 a.m. kind of fear that keeps you staring at the ceiling, counting sheep that are also somehow filing their taxes incorrectly. We all have them. That little voice in your head that whispers, "Are you sure you want to do that?" We decided to look into what's really making Americans nervous as we head into 2025. It's like a national anxiety report card, and let me tell you, the results are fascinating. We're gonna dive into the top 10 fears that are collectively keeping the lights on in the United States, and look, some of these you'll see coming. Spiders, heights, the classics. They're like the Rolling Stones of fear, they've been touring forever. But some of the others on this list, they might just surprise you. They tell a story not just about our primal instincts, but about the world we live in right now. Our politics, our society, our scrolling through social media at 2 a.m. habits. It's a snapshot of the American psyche, and it reveals a lot about who we are and what we value. So, get comfortable, maybe grab a stress ball or a large comforting sandwich because we're about to unpack the things that go bump in the nation's night. We're going to explore why these specific anxieties have such a grip on us, from our evolutionary wiring to our 24-hour news cycle. It's a journey into our shared vulnerabilities, and honestly, it's a little bit funny, a little bit scary, and a whole lot human. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a fear that turns seasoned professionals into trembling messes, glossophobia, or the fear of public speaking. You know the feeling. Your palms get sweaty, your heart starts doing the Macarena against your ribs, and suddenly the English language, a language you've been speaking your entire life, feels completely foreign. It's wild, isn't it? You could be an expert in quantum physics, but put you in front of 20 people with a PowerPoint presentation and your brain just goes, "Nope, we're out of here. Good luck." It's the ultimate performance anxiety, this fear of being judged by a crowd. This isn't just about big speeches at conferences. It's the fear of giving a toast at your best friend's wedding, the anxiety of presenting your idea in a team meeting, or even just having to introduce yourself in a new class. It's the worry that you'll stumble over your words, forget what you were going to say, or that people will think your ideas are stupid. This fear is rooted in our deep primal need for social acceptance. Being cast out of the tribe was a death sentence for our ancestors, so our brains are hardwired to see a sea of staring faces as a potential threat. It's not a lion, but to your amygdala it might as well be. Coming in at number 9 is a classic, a real Hall of Famer in the fear department. Acrophobia, the fear of heights. This is that gut-wrenching, vertigo-inducing feeling you get when you look down from a tall building, a Ferris wheel, or even just a particularly high staircase. Your brain just screams, "Abort, abort! The floor is too far away." It doesn't matter how many railings or safety harnesses are involved, your survival instinct kicks in and tells you that you are in mortal danger. It's a visceral physical reaction. Psychologists say this fear is partly a product of our evolution. Our ancestors who weren't super cautious about falling off cliffs, well, they didn't have a lot of descendants, you know? So, a healthy respect for gravity is literally baked into our DNA. But for some, that healthy respect turns into a full-blown phobia. It's what's known as a non-associative fear, meaning you don't even need to have a bad experience with heights to develop it. Your brain just knows that falling from a great height is a very, very bad idea, and it's not taking any chances. It's your brain's overprotective parent, and it's not letting you go anywhere near that ledge. Slithering into the number 8 spot is a fear that has been terrifying humans since the dawn of time. Ophidiophobia, the fear of snakes. For a lot of people, just the thought of a snake is enough to send shivers down their spine. It doesn't have to be a giant anaconda. A tiny garden snake can provoke the same level of panic. It's that silent, legless movement, the unblinking eyes, the forked tongue. It's a whole package of creepy that our brains are uniquely wired to detect and fear. It's an ancient, primal nope. There's a strong evolutionary argument for this one. For millions of years in certain parts of the world, a snake bite was a swift and often fatal problem. The humans who were quickest to spot and avoid snakes were the ones who survived to pass on their genes. So, we're descended from the jumpy ones. Studies have even shown that both humans and monkeys can spot snakes faster than other objects. This fear is also reinforced culturally. From the serpent in the Garden of Eden to Nagini in Harry Potter, snakes are often cast as the villain, the symbol of evil and deceit. They're the bad guys in our oldest stories, so is it any wonder we're still afraid of them? At number 7, we have a fear that is distinctly modern and profoundly shaped by the world we live in. The fear of terrorism. This isn't like being afraid of snakes or heights. It's not an instinct we were born with. This is a fear that has been learned. A fear that has been etched into our collective consciousness by specific tragic events, and amplified by a 24/7 news cycle. It's the anxiety that a normal day, a trip to the mall, a concert or a flight, could suddenly turn into a scene of unimaginable horror. It's the fear of randomness, the loss of control. The impact of events like September 11th cannot be overstated. They fundamentally changed the American sense of security, and introduced a new kind of dread into everyday life, and the media plays a huge role in sustaining this fear. Every attack, no matter where it happens in the world, is broadcast instantly and repeatedly, with dramatic music and flashing breaking news banners. This constant exposure can create a feeling that the threat is much more prevalent and immediate than it statistically is. It's called the availability heuristic. Our brains mistake the vividness and emotional power of these images for a high probability of it happening to us, keeping us in a state of low-grade, constant alert. Now for number 6, we're moving from external threats to a deeply internal one, the fear of rejection. This is the sting of not being picked for the team, the pain of a first love saying let's just be friends, the anxiety of a job application getting ignored. It's a universal human experience and it hurts. In fact, neuroscientists have found that the brain processes the pain of social rejection in the same regions that it processes physical pain. So when you say a breakup hurts, you're not just being dramatic. Your brain is literally telling you that you've been injured. This fear is so powerful because we are fundamentally social creatures. Our survival, historically and emotionally, depends on being part of a group. Rejection signals that we might be cast out, that we're not good enough, that we might end up alone. This fear can be paralyzing. It can stop us from asking for a raise, from telling someone how we really feel, from pursuing a dream because we're terrified of hearing the word no. We build walls around ourselves to avoid the potential pain, but in doing so, we also block out the potential for connection, for love, and for success. It's the ultimate emotional catch-22. Cracking the top 5 is the fear of failure, the heavy, invisible weight that shapes so many of our choices. It's the voice that whispers, what if you're not smart enough? What if you mess it up? What if everyone laughs at you? This fear isn't just about getting an F on a test, it's about the perceived catastrophic consequences of not succeeding. We tie our self-worth so tightly to our achievements that the thought of failing feels like a fundamental indictment of who we are as a person. We live in a culture that worships success, so failure feels like the ultimate sin. This fear is a master saboteur. It's the reason we stick with jobs we hate, because the thought of starting a new career and failing is too terrifying. It's why we don't learn that new skill, write that book, or start that business. The fear of failure keeps us in our comfort zones, which can feel safe, but are actually cages that limit our potential. We become so focused on avoiding the worst-case scenario that we miss out on the best-case one. It's the irony of it all. The fear of failing can become the very thing that guarantees we never truly succeed in reaching our most ambitious goals. Coming in strong at number 4 is a fear that hits very close to home. Literally. It's the fear of crime. This is the anxiety that makes you double-check the locks at night, the reason you clutch your bag a little tighter when walking down a dark street, the unease you feel when you hear an unfamiliar noise outside your window. It's the fear for your personal safety and the safety of your loved ones. It's the worry that your private sanctuary, your home, could be violated by a stranger. This fear is about the loss of safety and the potential for physical harm. Like the fear of terrorism, the fear of crime is heavily influenced by media coverage. Local news often leads with stories of robberies, assaults, and break-ins, creating a perception that danger lurks around every corner, even if, statistics show that crime rates in many areas have been falling for years. But statistics don't always soothe the primal fear. The stories we hear are more powerful than the data we read. This fear can change our behavior, making us more suspicious of strangers and less connected to our communities. It's a fear that can isolate us, turning our homes from places of comfort into fortresses against a perceived threat from the outside world. Soaring into the number 3 spot, ironically, is the fear of flying, or aerophobia. It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? We all know logically that flying is statistically the safest way to travel. You're more likely to get injured putting up your Christmas lights than you are on a commercial flight. But our brains don't care about statistics when we're sealed in a metal tube 7 miles above the earth. Logic goes out the window and a primal, "This is not natural." Instinct takes over. We are land animals and our brains know it. The fear of flying is often a cocktail of other fears. It's a bit of claustrophobia, being trapped in a small space, a dash of acrophobia, the fear of heights, and a whole lot of fear of losing control. You are completely surrendering your fate to 2 pilots you've never met, and a complex machine you don't understand. Every little bump of turbulence, every strange noise from the engine becomes a potential sign of impending doom. The media doesn't help, of course. Plane crashes are rare, but when they happen, they are spectacular, tragic, and receive massive, prolonged news coverage, searing them into our memory far more effectively than the millions of safe landings that happen every year. Our runner-up at number 2 is a fear that's as old as humanity itself. Nyctophobia, the fear of the dark. This is where it all begins for most of us as children, convinced that a monster is hiding under the bed or in the closet, just waiting for the lights to go out. We might grow out of believing in literal monsters, but for many, a sliver of that fear remains. The dark represents the unknown. It strips us of our primary sense, our sight, leaving us feeling vulnerable and exposed. Our imagination, no longer held in check by reality, is free to run wild and conjure up all sorts of threats. This fear is deeply rooted in our evolutionary past. For our ancestors, nighttime was when predators were on the prowl. Darkness meant danger. The people who were cautious and stayed safe in the light were the ones who survived. That instinct is still with us. When you're in the dark, every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside, is amplified. Your brain goes into high alert mode, trying to identify potential threats without the benefit of vision. It's a primal survival mechanism that, in our well-lit modern world, can sometimes feel irrational, but it's a powerful reminder of where we came from. The dark hides things, and our brains are programmed to assume the worst about what it might be hiding. And here we are, at the number 1 fear keeping Americans up at night in 2025. It's not a monster, it's not a plane crash, it's not a snake. It's the quiet, profound, and deeply human fear of being alone. Autophobia, or the fear of loneliness. In a world that has never been more connected digitally, we are paradoxically feeling more isolated than ever. This isn't just about the fear of being physically by yourself in a room. It's the fear of being emotionally disconnected, of not having anyone who truly understands you, of being forgotten or abandoned. It's the fear that if you disappeared, no one would notice. This fear touches every other fear on this list. We fear rejection because it could lead to being alone. We fear failure because we think it will make us unworthy of connection. We fear public speaking because we don't want to be ostracized from the group. Humans are wired for community, for belonging, for love. Loneliness isn't just a sad feeling. Chronic loneliness has been shown to have serious negative effects on both mental and physical health, comparable to smoking or obesity. It's a silent epidemic, an ache for connection in a world of curated perfection and digital distance. It's the ultimate fear because it strikes at the very core of what it means to be human, our need for each other. So there you have it, the top 10 fears laying claim to the American psyche. From the podium to the airplane, from the darkness in our rooms to the quiet fear of being in that room alone. It's quite a list, isn't it? It shows that for all our differences, we are united by our vulnerabilities. We all have that thing, that what if that makes our heart beat a little faster? And looking at this list, it's clear that our fears are a complex mix of ancient programming and very modern pressures. We're afraid of the snake in the grass and the notification on our phone. But here's the most important part. What do you do with that fear? Acknowledging it is the first step. So, I want to hear from you. What's your number 1 fear? Is it on this list, or is it something completely different? Maybe you have a crippling fear of mismatched socks, or clowns who are also accountants. I don't know, let's get weird with it. Share it in the comments below. Let's create a space where it's okay to talk about the things that scare us, because I guarantee you, you are not the only one feeling that way. Remember, having fears doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. It's a sign that you have things you care about, things you want to protect, your life, your relationships, your dreams. The goal isn't to be fearless, because that's impossible. The goal is to understand our fears, to talk about them, and to not let them be the only voice in the room when we're making decisions. Thanks for hanging out with me and facing the fear. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and maybe leave a light on tonight, just in case.